studio. I'm Jessie, and this is the Knit Up and Dye Podcast, episode 14, Boundaries. I'd like to start by thanking my viewers and my new subscribers. It's your comments and your questions that keep me going every day. I appreciate every one of them, and you're the reason I do this. Hi, everyone. Quick notifications up front. I want to let you know about a couple specials I'm having. First off, all of the Dye Monkey yarns, all of my yarns in my Etsy shop are on sale until January 7th. If you use coupon code PARTY35, you'll get 35% off your entire order. Again, only going until January 7th. I hope you catch this video before then. And shop till you drop, have a ball. There's some great colors in there. Some of them will not be coming back. Some of them will be coming back. They're not marked as to who's coming back and who's not, so if you love it, get it while you can. Also, James has been released. This is my new hat pattern. This pattern is a men's or unisex hat. It has a lovely star top on it. Very easy stockinette pattern with some stripes just to accent it. The pattern is 50% off again until January 7th with coupon code 2017. That's 2017 on Ravelry. $1.50 for this pattern. And if you start now, you might have all your Christmas gifts done by next year. Okay, housekeeping's out of the way. Why am I calling this episode Boundaries? Well, it's a new year. Happy New Year, everyone. And happiness experts tell you that you should select a theme word for your year. And I've thought a lot about it over the past couple days. It's been a holiday weekend for me. As you see, I'm recording on a Monday, so clearly I'm not at work. But I've been thinking a lot about the years behind me, the year ahead of me, and what word is a good word for me to focus on for the year. And my word this year is going to be boundaries. Boundaries is a funny kind of word. Boundaries can mean setting limits. Boundaries can also mean breaking limits. So for me, it's going to be both. This year, I'm going to be setting some new boundaries. First on my list is changing some of the toxicity in my life. As I've spoken before, back several episodes when I was talking about gratitude knitting, I don't do well when the outside world comes in on me. My sky falls very easily, and so I avoid newspapers, and I found recently that I'm letting more of that in. Part of that is Facebook, which I have a love-hate relationship with. I think, that's it, I'm going to close this account, and then I think, well, that's how I'm in touch with a lot of my friends and I know about different events. So a new boundary for me is the amount of time that I'm going to be spending on Facebook and how much of that feed I'm going to be reading. And I suspect it's going to be a lot less. I used to check it almost every morning. I need to set a boundary and look at that less so that I'm seeing fewer negative things, just negative things. That's not to say that many of you post really wonderful positive things. It's the news that gets posted there, and I need to clean up my feed. Again, I need to set some boundaries as to what is allowed in my feed and what isn't. In the boundaries scope of things as well, setting boundaries, I'm going to be doing some, like I said, toxic removal, and that includes some toxic relationships. Not necessarily individuals in my life that are toxic that I'm going to break up with. Generally, I do that pretty soon in a relationship when it goes bad. It's going to be more about toxic places, toxic environments, toxic exposure as a whole. Just people and places and things that make me uncomfortable, that I don't like, that I don't want. I'm going to start to actively avoid. I need positivity in my life, and I need, as part of my boundaries, to find new places to go that make me happy, that bring me joy, And like I said, if I am eliminating Facebook, then I'm going to find some other happy place to hang out online that brings me happiness. And I think that's most likely going to be spending more time on Pinterest. I enjoy Pinterest. I have beautiful, beautiful things in my feed. And fortunately with Pinterest, there's not a lot of commentary attached to the images. There's people's notes about whatever they've saved, whatever they've pinned, but it's not, oh, the world is awful, and oh, this guy is doing that, and that person's doing this. It's much cleaner than that. It's a lot of, my particular feed has a lot of knitting imagery and yarns and pretty scenery, and I think that needs to be my breakfast time feed. I need to go there and spend, instead of Facebook, some Pinterest time. So that was kind of a ramble as to the new walls I'm setting up. But boundaries is also about breaking boundaries, like I said, and that's going to be me trying new things. Whether it's new foods that I've never experienced before, or it's new recipes, or it is new products, or new places to go, new people to meet. I'm going to break through some of the lines that I have in my life. New techniques with my knitting, absolutely. New techniques with my dyeing, absolutely. You recently saw some new yarns from me. I showed them off last week that I did in a roasting pan, and I changed up how I produced the colors, and I got some beautiful bleeds, really, really wonderful variegations and tonal product that I just loved. So there may be a couple more roasting pans in my future, and a lot more time with, instead of boiling water and steamed packages, baking the yarns. It came out so beautifully. I'm very happy with it. So certainly with boundaries, I'll be playing with techniques and learning as much as I can. I enjoy that. I love diving deeper into my knitting. Pardon me. And just seeing what we're capable of doing with 2 sticks and string. Part of that, of course, I had mentioned a couple weeks back, is that I'll be trying to do some double knitting. I have not cast it on yet. I'm still terrified of it. I've done it before. It just wasn't my favorite thing. And to give it a fair shake, when I tried it, I was using cotton on bamboo needles, and I was terrified of dropping stitches. And I've gone so far past that with my skill level now that I'm not nearly as afraid that that's going to happen. So I know confidently that I can master double knitting. It's on the list of things to try, and I'm not sure when, but I'll be doing that. And I'm playing with some new patterns as well. I have my fox paws scarf that I don't give it enough love, and I think it's because I have to focus so hard on the pattern when I'm doing it. I love the technique. I think that Mandy does the most beautiful stuff with her stacked increases and decreases. I think it's a fantastic technique. I just have to focus when I do it, and my knitting time is generally my relaxed time. And so focusing on something, it's not a good match. Will I finish that project? Absolutely. I love the colors I chose for it. I love the pattern. It's just going to be one of those long haul projects that I pick up and I put down, and I pick up and I put down. And I do want to give that some extra love this year. I recently, for New Year's, cast on a new project. This particular pattern is Curiosity by Barbara Benson. And I'm just going to hold that up so you can kind of see the picture. I'm not giving any of the pattern away. But it is a textured scarf that is simple. It's sections of garter and sections of stockinette. And you start at a tip and it expands out. And it's one of those patterns that you knit until you run out of yarn. I love it. I love it. I love it. No scraps, which is always nice. And it can be as long or as short as you want. It's entirely up to you. And I happen to go stash diving, and I pulled out my Chroma. It's a Knit Picks yarn. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful fade. And it's a long transition. And I cast this on for New Year's. Let me see if I can hold it up so you can see it. I don't know how friendly my camera is going to be because it likes to focus on my face. But I've got this started. Isn't that lovely? I love the transitions. They're nice and smooth. I'm using like a million stitch markers just because on the wrong side I have difficulty seeing the difference between pearls and my stockinette when I'm parked in front of the TV in dim light. So I've got all these crazy stitch markers on it. It's a simple pattern. It's a beautiful pattern. A lot of its beauty is in its simplicity, that we just have these wonderful changes in texture that run lengthwise. And it would work wonderfully with any variegated, any hand-painted yarn. I just happened to stash dive and grab this because I've had it for 5 years and not found the proper project for it. So I found it. And I am in love with this. I think this is going to be wonderful with my black jacket for the colder months of winter, and it'll wrap right around me and keep me warm and wondy. So, new projects. My sweater. I promised to keep you guys up to date on my sweater. Many of you know from watching the podcast that I did a special batch of hand-dyed yarns for my mother, who lives back in Maine, and I did my chocolate colorway. So she messages me often and we talk on the phone about her 50 Shades of Chocolate sweater. And I can't wait to see it done. I know it's going to be beautiful. I'm so excited because I just love that colorway. And I love hearing her updates. I love hearing her excitement about this sweater. And she's been saying, oh, you know, the front is done, and I'm working on the back, and it's mostly done. And I'm like, I started my sweater long before she did hers. Really ought to give that some love. It's the perfect peer pressure. It's the perfect peer pressure. Not that I am in a race with my mother, not that we have a challenge going on. It's just the subtle reminder that somebody else is making progress on their sweater. They're that much closer to wearing something they love, something beautiful. I could be focusing and getting that much faster and closer too. So, because Mom was talking about her sweater, I sat down and I worked on my sweater. Y'all have seen this. This is the back. I think it's the back. Again, it's a high texture, low texture, reversible, 4 rectangles of success sweater that I'm doing. It's going to be a drop shoulder. There is no pattern. I'm completely improvising this because I have no success working with sweater patterns. I can't measure me. Apparently nobody else can measure me. Everything that I knit sweater-wise always ends up being a disaster. So I'm going with the super boxy, easy, do-it-yourself, sort-it-out kind of thing. I did finish this, and I started on the front, I guess. Front, back, they're identical. It doesn't matter. And I had shown you guys, I think I had shown you approximately 7 inches, and maybe I showed you 14. And today, I'm showing you all of it. Oh, yay! This is done. It is the same size as the other panel. I finished it last night. I'm very excited. So my next step is I'm going to put this on waste yarn, and I'm going to mock it up. I'm going to baste the shoulders closed so that I can see, is the length right for me. Once I'm confident that the length is, give or take, right for me, my next step is to put it back on the needles and do a little bit of a shoulder, just a little bit of a shoulder, because I don't want a huge neck on it. I prefer more of a boat neck. Bind off the center, do a little bit of shoulder, and then I'm going to join the front and the back. It's a plan. Once the front and the back are joined, then I'll be turning it and picking up along the armhole to start the sleeves, with the idea that it's reversible and that it's a drop shoulder so it can be kind of boxy and just taper down to the wrist, with really good notes about how I do it so that I can replicate it on the other side. And I'm taking really good notes as I go along, because if this fits, if this works for me, which I should be able to test immediately, because once I get a little bit of the sleeve done, where I'm picking up and I'm working the sleeve from the shoulder down, I can mock that again. I can baste it close and try it on and see, does this work for me? Does this fit for me? Without having a ton of seams, the biggest seam will be along the sleeve and down the side. And if it works, and I have all my notes in place, I can knit another. I have yarn for more sweaters. I have all kinds of yarn for sweaters that sits patiently waiting for me to sort out a sweater pattern that works for me. So, yay, I'm that much closer. I just have to do this shoulder thing where I sort myself out. If the length is wrong, I either tear back a little bit or I add a couple more rows on. Big deal, easy peasy. And then I can start the sleeves, and those are going to go fast because they're nowhere near as big a panel as the body itself. If you are one of the lucky people out there like myself who has a sweater curse, I kind of recommend this technique of just go at it yourself instead of trying to use other patterns. Other patterns are either built on the Craft Association of America, whatever that is called, CYFA, or I can't even remember the name of it. They're either built on their standards for your body, or they're built on the knitter's standards for their body, the designer. My size clothing on 3 other women with similar measurements looks totally different on all 4 of us. We're all shaped so differently. I hate the way clothing is sized. One brand I'm a 6, another brand I'm an 8, another brand I'm a 4, and then I try on this brand and I'm an extra large. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I feel very much that although sweaters often give us dimensions, that a lot of designers aren't really clear about ease. I'm never sure if I want positive ease or negative ease. And it's really one of those things that I determine by trying it on. And often I can't go to the store and try on something similar enough to a pattern to know whether I'm going to like a pattern or not. And I don't know how fond of tape measures and notebooks a lot of retail stores are, where I'm sitting there taking measurements off of clothing to figure out if I'm going to like a sweater. And I don't want to buy something and bring it home and measure it and then return it. That's just rude. It's rude, I'm sorry. It's one thing if you bring it home and you wear it and it doesn't fit, it has a defect, then okay, I get it, return it. But otherwise, commit. Don't rent clothing, it's rude. So where was I going with all this? You're probably laughing hysterically at me. So consider, if you're part of the sweater curse population, trying the 4 rectangles of success. Now, that's kind of a lie. The more I think about this sweater, the more I realize that I'm going to look like the Tin Man if I truly do 4 rectangles. I really need to taper that sleeve a little bit because Tin Man's not necessarily a good look. But that's neither here nor there. It's piece together what you want in something simple, something comfortable, something casual, not necessarily fitted, but give yourself a success. Break through the boundary of the sweater curse, break through the boundary, try a new technique. Don't think that you can't design something yourself. If you can draw a square and you can cast on an even number of stitches and you can knit until that length matches the length you need, you're a designer. If you pick out a pretty stitch that you like and you cast on and you knit to the end and you have the right number of stitches on the other end, you are a designer. Design doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to study crazy things. I have no formal education in it. Maybe my patterns are not as professional as somebody else's, but I can create a hat, I can create a shawl, I can create a scarf, I can create a sock. So can you. Break through your boundaries, set up new boundaries, and find what makes you happy and comfortable and enjoy your year. I think that's about all I have to say today. I don't have any special techniques for you today. Just go out and try something new. That's what I'm going to do. Have a great week. I'll see you all next time. Happy New Year.